can pray for you. If you can pray together, maybe you've heard of a situation with a family member or a friend that you both know, or, you know, families that you do know, couples and things, and just say, you know, please will you pray with me? And then, it is difficult, you know, especially if you're married to an unbeliever, because the Bible does say that we should marry to one that is a Christian and not an unyoked. But some of us do. And we've just got to pray and believe that in that situation, God will do what he wants to do with your husband. And you are not that person that's going to, you cannot save him.
Right.
Only God can.
Right. We're not the Holy Spirit.
So it's your behavior, what you do often, the walk you walk is the talk that you walk. And many times that can impact. Just that consistency, you know, of being a loving wife, loving the children, praying for your husband, you know, trying to be involved, trying to get him involved with just simple little things. You know? Maybe say, okay, well, let's go through the passage in the Bible and what does he think about it? And, you know, to get those kind of things. But just be encouraging all the time and uplifting and things like that. If you see something that he does good in the day, just to say, wow, well done, you know, I noticed that, and, you know, things like that. So,
being encouraging and affirming rather than being critical or demanding. And I think that the word that you used about being controlling is so key about how that affects our perspective toward our husbands, right? Because if we're being controlling, it's difficult to encourage in a way without grabbing hold of the situation, because you can say, I want to pray with you, but then you can suddenly feel resentful that, why am I the one who has to say, can we pray together, right? But that shows that I'm being controlling of the situation in the first place, but can I just let go of that, right? No matter what the response might be. And
if you go to your husband and you say, oh, please, you know, I've got a headache, will you pray for me? And he said, what do you want me to pray for? Then you just say, that's okay, I just thought you might be able to pray. And then you just go and you'll pray for yourself, you know, and pray for your husband at the same time. But continue, be persistent, you know, persistent. I even think of George's parents, my in-laws. I mean, they were married for 55 years, I think, before he passed. And of that 55 years, 40 years, he was an alcoholic. And, you know, verbally abusive and things like that. But she just persisted. She persisted on praying. She persisted on doing this. She persisted on being there, you know. So he never physically abused her or anything like that. But she just persisted and persevered over all the years. And then, you know, in the later part of his life, he came to know Christ. So the last 15 years were amazing. And, you know, just her faithfulness of praying, and knew that, you know, knowing that God was going to have a breakthrough.
That's
and
amazing.
So it is like that, you know. So one thing you can do that, but I think also in whatever marriage, whether it's a Christian marriage or whether you're married to a non-Christian, George and I, if there is a situation where the wife is being abused, whether, you know, physically abused, the wife and the children are being battered by the husband, we will make a difference. We will go in, we will interfere. We will say, we will help pack your bags and go until there can be reconciliation, until the husband can get counseling. Because we do not believe that, you know, when you see something like that, when the husband is beating the wife and the children, and you just say, it's all right, tomorrow it will be better. No, tomorrow it won't be better. You know, but to remove the wife and the children out of the situation, to help the husband, and then to reconcile. So, you know, it's good.
It's not acceptable. Right.
And I think also we have this, that if I find out that somebody's wife is cheating on her husband, say somebody that I know and they're cheating on the husband, to talk about it, or if you know that the husband is cheating, to say, bring it out, bring it out in the open, because to live with all of that, it's just it's a huge struggle, and it's a heaviness.
Yes.
And it just causes so much more hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In the end. And that's what Satan wants, it to be hidden and not brought to the light. Yeah. And that's exactly what's needed for healing. Right? Yeah. You mentioned about the way that we speak. And I think our tones are so important, right? And just like Sarah here obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, meaning, again, not a slavish, servile kind of thing, but in a respectful manner of treating her husband. And I was wondering if you could touch on that a little bit of how can we, especially if it's something, let's say, if it's a sensitive topic, if you're bringing up, or a difficult topic that you might bring up, how can you do so in a way that is respectful and honoring of our husband as the head of the household? Again, not being critical and demanding. And how can we die to that type of right or privilege we might mistakenly think that we have, right? You better make things right, or being demanding in that way.
Well, I think again, Sarah said she called Abraham Lord. And it's not what we call our husbands. It's what is in your heart. And that's the biggest thing. What is in your heart? Is it revenge? Is it bitterness? Is it anger? But is it loving and caring? Is it controlling or not controlling? Because sometimes we want to respect, like you say, and want to do all these things, but we don't think we're controlling.
Yes.
But in our hearts, what's in our hearts? Because many times what's in the heart comes out of the mouth.
Yes.
Yes. So I think there's not always this and that solution, but to check our hearts. Yes. And at times it's not easy, but how to do that, and how to be, yes, you can still laugh and you can still be joyful, and sometimes it's loud laughter and things like that.
Yes, yes.
But that doesn't mean it's being disrespectful. It's how you do it.
Yes.
In the manner that you speak, your attitude, your, those kind of things. That could be not who you are per se, but it just comes out that way because there's this going around. As we say in Africa, it's your washing machine that's going, There's too much.
And then something
gets
gets
washing out.
Yeah.
So, and again, just to remember that in this all, that your husband is that warrior and we are the helpers, And if you understand that we work parallel with each other, he serves us, we serve them, and how we do it, And I mean, it's the same thing. He's loud and boisterous, and his attitude and points a finger at you, or is abusive in that way. It's the same thing. How do we feel, But and for him also, he needs to treat us like Jesus treated the church.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So, and how do we treat him?
Right. Right.
So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes hand in hand with the question of, okay, the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. It's the hidden person of the heart. We're hidden with Christ, but yet it's our adorning, Peter says. That's what is actually externally shown, what is hidden in the gentle and quiet spirit of our hearts. And it's very precious in God's sight. So what does that mean? And how can we cultivate a gentle and quiet spirit? Doesn't mean that, I can't laugh super loud. And yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Definitely not. You know, and again, as I said just now, having that quiet, gentle spirit is something that is respectful. It doesn't mean that I come in and you just and go sit in the corner and keep quiet. That doesn't mean that it's a quiet, gentle spirit. A quiet, gentle spirit can still laugh loud. But how do you laugh loud? You can still have fun and joy, and you can have that inner beauty. You can, look after yourself and just watch not harsh words and those kind of things. So if you're harsh and if you are angry and if you are loud in the wrong way, giving the wrong impression, then that's difficult for the gentle spirit. So you can still laugh, you can still have fun, but in the being gentle spirited is a way of encouraging, of honoring your husband, of making him feel welcome and appreciated, whether you're on your own or whether you're in company, that he doesn't feel embarrassed by your actions, those kind of things. So, I don't know if that answers a little bit of your question.
No, that is great.
So I don't know if anybody's got
questions. Let me just check here. Yes, Carolyn did say radar.
And I've explained
and okay, I think we might have answered this question already. How would you encourage women whose husband is not a believer or is a believer but not really spiritually leading the family? What can the woman do in these situations to be still complimenting and submissive? That's a great question. I think we might have answered. Maybe Terry, if you don't mind unmuting anybody who might have questions for Carolyn. We'd love to be able to discuss, just open it up.
Feel free to unmute yourself. I'll share. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Olivia.
Hi. Well, I guess I don't really have a question as much as it's such a good reminder to hear about Sarah, and it's such a reminder of how I'm so not like Sarah, and I think that for me it's I mean, I'm just sharing, like my experience and my encouragement, my conviction, just in case anybody else feels that way. But yeah, I have this, I don't know, like I'm entitled to have this husband who just fits every thing that I've been looking for. He has to be the spiritual leader. He has to be the financial provider. He has to be just mature and perfect and good with the kids, and because I am, so he should be, right? And so anyway, I have all these expectations, which I didn't realize, but it just comes out, right? It comes out, and I start seeing it, and I'm thinking, the things that he needs from me, which is just encouragement. It's just an affirmation, just that kind of love. And then immediately I'm thinking, why do you need that? Why do I have to work extra hard to give you this encouragement? I married a Christian so that you could be the spiritual leader and that you don't need me to do it. I have plenty of other things to pray about and other people to pray about. So then I start feeling like this, I don't know, what is that word, where I just kind of feel like, well, why should I have to do that? So you need to step it up more. And anyway, these are things that I realize are wrong. I know it's so wrong, and I know that's what he needs, and it seems so simple, and I don't know why I can't seem to give that to him. I could give it to other people, no problem. People that I don't see on a regular basis because, you know, it's easier, but because I have to see him every day, and I'm thinking, oh, great, now do I have to give another type of encouragement or support? Like, how much more do I need to do? And it's so wrong, right? It's so sinful, and it's like selfishness, it's entitlement, and but I'm just saying that I'm very encouraged by what you're sharing, and I'm very convicted and reminded of being that wife that is gentle and loving and supportive and helpful. And, you know, I try to lift him up sometimes, but while I'm doing it, I'm like, I have to like, you know, like beat him up while I do it. Cause it's like, nothing should be that easy. You know, I want to lift you up, but I also want to like kind of punch you while I'm doing it. I can't go to specifics, but you know, it's my personal sin. It's definitely a struggle. Um, as a Christian wife, and I mean he is a Christian too, but and it's just, thank you. I wanted to say it's so encouraging to hear, very convicting, and I definitely want to change, and I want to work on that personally.
I think, Olivia, you know, it's with all of us that are married, you know, we do struggle at first, and some of us find it easy to encourage, and others find it more difficult. But I think what I want to encourage you, and I think what I also had to learn to do, you know, in encouraging George and honoring George and things, and how do I do it, and is it every day? It doesn't have to be every day, you know, and just saying, oh, you look good today makes the world of difference, you know, or had a haircut, notice that he's had a haircut, and say, oh, I see you had a haircut today, you know, those simple little things. Or, you know, if he buys you a chocolate or something like that, even if you don't like it or it's not your choice of the day, but just to acknowledge that he's bought you a gift, you know, and be very grateful for it and thankful for it. You know, so it's those simple things in life, simple things in your marriage, that when you appreciate them and you show your husband, or you tell your husband, you know, that is such a thing. Go up to him and just say, I feel like a hug, give me a hug, you know, or sit next to him on the couch and hold his hand, you know, that kind of thing. You know, it's the simple little things, plus the bigger things, of course. But pray, 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 pray. Yeah. And I think also just part of that, I don't know if anybody was going to ask any of these kind of questions, but I think being controlling, you know, where you want to, like you were saying, you want to control. He should be the house. He should be the head of the home. He is a Christian. Why is he not doing this? And I think many times, us as women, we want to take that role, and we want to be controlling. And I think whether it's a cultural or, you know, being brought up that way, where your mum may have been a controlling figure or the more dominating figure than your dad, you know, and to be able now in this generation with us to be able to break that bondage, you know, so that you don't feel you have to push and pull and control everything. And why is he not doing this? And I need this done, and I need that done, and, you know, that kind of thing. And it's what you've learned from your mum. And that's why you can see yourself doing it, but you can break that bondage. You can say so far and no further. Because just remember, if you have daughters, they're going to copy what you do. And do you really want them to be like you? Or do you want them to be like Jesus wants them to be? You know, and to break that bondage of control, and to allow the Holy Spirit to minister, you know, into your life and say, I do not want to control this situation, you know, and allowing your daughter, if you've got daughters, or even your sons, because how are they going to be with their wives, you know?
Yeah.
And if they see mom and dad taking their rightful roles, if they see dad, even mom has been controlling and dad has been passive, for mom to calm down and to say, okay, I'm here just to encourage dad, to build dad up. Your son will do that with his wife one day, you know, and your daughter will marry and she won't be that controlling person. And then you'll have the right place of the husband, her husband treating her well, and she being the helper, serving along, and things like that. So you can break that bondage.
Yes.
You know.
Do you think that our sense of wanting to control things comes from what Peter is talking about here, about not fearing anything that is frightening? Like, do you think that control is related with our fearfulness? Because we're scared that something is going to happen, go a certain way that we don't want it to go. So therefore, I'm going to jump on it and, make sure it doesn't go that way and be controlling. I'm wondering if there's any connection with that. And that is why hoping in God ultimately frees us, right? And breaks that bondage of wanting to fearfully control things. I know for myself, when I react in certain ways, whether it's anger or just anxiety, it does, and I want to take a hold of it. That really does come from fear for myself. And so I see how Sarah, she was an amazing woman of faith in that. She was able to hope ultimately in the Lord, even when Abraham actually at times was not treating her well, right? But still she entrusted herself ultimately to say the Lord is in control, right?
Yeah, it is that trust, that trust and that faithfulness, that you've been brought together, that you shared your vows to each other, and that God will ordain your marriage and take you step by step. Yes, marriage is not a bed of roses. It does have its ups and downs. You do disagree, you do argue and things like that, but how do you communicate? How do you listen well? And I think sometimes, we would want to control the situation because we feel maybe our husbands haven't heard us. But how do we communicate? Take time to listen to each other. That is so important, to hear what each other is saying and not just assume or presume. And I think that will help, where it's not really out of fear because it won't be done or he's not going to do it. I think it's the trust. You've got to trust. And, even as there may be fearful moments, where you fearing, and then you say, no, but it's a lamp unto my feet. So God shows us our footsteps to getting to the end. He doesn't put the torch ahead and say, oh, there you've got to go, never mind what's happening down here. So even though you may fear that, he's saying, but I am a lamp unto your feet, and he will show you the path that you must go. You mustn't force the issue and look for the torch at the
yes, we want to know the outcome, right?
So a big thing is just being committed, being faithful and trusting. Is there anybody else? I don't know if that helps you a little bit, Olivia. That is a tough one, but again, the same thing is just to pray. And if he hasn't had a drink or anything like that, just to be able to sit with him, try and communicate with him, just say, when you have a drink, I don't feel comfortable buying alcohol, but if you want to have a drink, then, you must buy it. But also just communicating and saying, yes, you want to drink. Why do you want to drink? What does it do for you? Is there something in me as your wife that the alcohol is taking that place? You know, you may get shouted at, or just mind your own business, but just to continue, to love on him. The best thing is to love on him, to pray for him, and just say that, you just feel, be honest and just say, I really don't feel comfortable buying alcohol for you. And yeah, that was the same for my mom-in-law. And, then my father-in-law would just go and buy it anyway. But she still sat next to him when he had his drinks and, prayed for him. And when he either passed out or slept at night, she would pray over him. And yeah, just still wanted to be that comfort and for him to know that she was there. And I think as long as he knows that you are there, that you still love him and you still care for him, even though he may get upset, and want you to do that, just, to communicate slowly and carefully and know that you still love him and, those kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you.
What are other people's comments?
I think
Nelly wanted to say something.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Olivia was saying. And I really, I totally resonate with her in terms of like, you have this inordinate desire and entitled feeling that your husband has to check off all the boxes, be the provider, be the spiritual leader, be the great husband, kind and loving husband, and doting husband, and great father to the kids. And I totally fall into that trap. And I think a lot of times he has the same list of things and expectations that he wants from me. And we've come to recognize that we just have this inordinate desire and like a selfish focus of how we want these things to be fulfilled. And in just recent weeks, we've really come to see that just individually, we've become disobedient to the Lord and the word. And for me to constantly concentrate on my husband and what he does or doesn't do, it goes to that controlling issue where I'm trying to control him, manipulate him to do what I want by nagging him or making comments or, trying to be behavioral modification wife to him. And so lately I just turned to the word, and it's so wonderful that we're reading First Peter, and I meditate on this and I wonder how I am not obeying the Lord. I definitely am not respectful. I talk back. I'm not pure conduct. I correct him constantly in front of the kids. And so I've had to write. For me, writing is like a way for me to process. So I've been writing down what I've been doing that's disobedient, and because I want to put those things off. And then I've been praying over, Lord, show me how I can walk in the Spirit and be of pure and respectful conduct to my husband, because I have no clue how to do it. And God has been so faithful. I mean, I've seen small changes in myself and in the way Scott responds to me, and vice versa. And I just want to encourage like everyone, you have to examine yourself first before the Lord, because I'm totally the first person to point at Scott constantly. I mean, anyone who's a good friend of mine knows how much I complain about Scott. And I never complain about myself because obviously I'm so perfect. But when you examine yourself before the word, I mean, oh my gosh, you cannot help but confess your sin and then ask the Lord to show you what it means to walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh. So thank you. So encouraged just that we're, Carolyn, as you're talking about what we need to do as wives, I hear you, like you're asking us to be obedient to the Lord and to, walk in the fruits of the Spirit, love, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness. And if we keep our eyes on those things, it becomes easier to, if we concentrate on the word and what God has asked us to do, it becomes easier to love our husbands in that way. If I'm constantly concentrated on my own thoughts and how my husband's not doing what I want, it just gets worse and worse. And for me, bitterness and resentment is like super easy to pile on.
Yeah, and that you don't want, because that takes so much longer to deal with, but admitting where you feel you've gone wrong is an awesome step, to know that there is. So when something comes up, you will be able to stop yourself and think twice, or turn around and go the other direction before there is a situation. Yeah. And I think also, George just reminded me in Ephesians 5, I think it's verse 21 or 21 to 26, somewhere around there, where it says there that husbands and wives must submit to each other. So the one doesn't control the other, they walk together, and but yeah, once you know that and you are aware of it, then it's so much easier to overcome it, because your husband will see it too, and he will feel it, he will hear it in your tone of voice, and yeah, he will just appreciate you. He can see that you are making the difference, and yeah. Thanks for sharing.
We do have a question. Oh, go ahead, Chongju. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Carolyn, can you hear me? I was wondering, I'm sure you guys were always very busy, like especially even when you had young kids, you went back to Bible school, you were studying nursing, and you have a number of children. And even now, like George travels a lot, right? Can you share some practical ways, or what have you done to kind of make sure that you have that time for one another, or to connect and prioritize, I guess, your marriage?
Yeah, I think, with George and I, and the calling that we've had, it's been a calling for both of us, number one. Knowing that we have been called and where we've been called to. And I think, going as we have prayed together, knowing that George is the one that needs to be out, and giving me the ability in knowing that I have the trust that I can, that George will go. He will go and do what God wants him to do, and I will be at home. That he will give each of us the strength to be able to do what we need to do. But at the same time, praying for one another, whether we are at a distance, we pray for each other, we send encouraging messages, that kind of thing. Just finding out how the day has been, on both sides, and just to, even for George, he's in the communities and things like that, and hearing his stories, because so much he sees so much and experiences so much, and I don't see it and experience it, but to try and encourage and just to pray with him, or to laugh, have jokes, those kind of things with one another. And then when he's back, just to have that time. So where we do pray together, read a book together, or he'll read, I'll listen. And, those kind of things. Go for a lunch or a coffee, or, do those extra special things. Sit alone and watch a series on the TV or on the computer. Just building on our relationship with one another. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
I think too, the two of you, like you said, the Lord's calling on your lives. So it's not just about each other, but it's about the fact that God has called you to serve his kingdom in a particular way. And it's very outward oriented too, right? Both of you are loving and serving one another for God's purpose. And I think that really keeps you going as well, right? Because, like you said, you're certain of God's call on your life. That's bigger and greater than even your marriage, right? So you're part of something that's greater that God wants to do. And I think that definitely bonds you together, right? Yeah.
Because I mean, marriage as well, you must know, it's a triangle. So Jesus is the center, and the two of you are at the other ends. And, you know, as you come together, he's there. Yeah. And of course, remembering and being reminded continually that he is the warrior. You know, you are the helper, you are the radar.
Yes.
But yet you submit to each other, you serve each other.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm going to read this question out loud. It says, you mentioned that women have specific roles. Do you think that it would not be wise to take on a demanding leadership role as a wife, such as a politician, etc.? That's a good question.
Oh my gosh. Do you think it's wise? Would it not be wise? Yeah, you can still, as a wife, you can have a demanding leadership role, even as a politician. I mean, there are many women that are politicians, they are leaders, they, you know, in different aspects. In a business, you could be a CEO, but that should not take over the role in your house. So you may lead a country. How many women presidents do we have? She leads a country, but yet at home, she doesn't lead her husband leads her. And I think that's the difference, you know, not to confuse your marriage with the workplace or being a leader in the workplace. So you can still be a politician. You can still be a CEO. There's nothing wrong with that. Women don't have to stay at home and just bring up the children and wash the dishes. We can do those things. We can be in those positions, but how are we at home? And if you're going to bring the same kind of scenario of being in control and wanting to order everybody around to your marriage, that's when I would suggest don't be a politician. But if you can put the politician aside and still come and serve under your husband and be with your husband, and because he can see the situation that you are in. You know, it's difficult, it's strong, it's you need to have that good face, and he'll still be there. He's the warrior for your family, you know, he's the warrior for you, and he will come and he will encourage you and say, look, do this, do that, you know, those kind of things. So I hope that answers that question or helps a little bit. I don't know all these answers.
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you. And there's another question going back to Teresa's question and Carolyn's answer about praying and being patient. What if the husband's sin affects the children? Don't we have a role and responsibility to protect them? You touched on this a little bit when we were talking about abuse of the wife. So do we have a role and responsibility to protect the children from the husband's sin?
I mean, it's always good to protect the children, but in protecting them, you mustn't idolize them. And yeah, if your husband is drinking and getting drunk, then you need to protect the children. You know, you can encourage them, you know, just to say that it's not right, it's not the right thing to do. Let's pray for daddy, you know, and encourage the children to be prayerful, but still not to make them frightened of their father. They need to still, you know, love their father, even though if he's physically abusing them, of course, we need to take action. But yeah, just to, to pray, to understand, to be there with the mom, and to pray for the father. It is difficult. It's very difficult because you don't want to see, especially if the dad is drinking and abusing the mom. You know, then it's a different situation.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? We're already at 9:07, so I'm
Or
thinking.
any answers to questions that were asked me.
Yes, yeah. We can open it up for discussion, definitely. Anybody else want to share? It doesn't have to be just questions. We really appreciate your sharing, Olivia and Nellie, just how God's been working in your marriages and what he's been showing you too, definitely. So thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else wants to?
Hi. So if no one has a question, I have a question, I guess the question. Has there ever been a time, I'm sure this is not true for George often, but has he ever made you so angry, so angry that, oh, is he sitting nearby?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was wondering, I mean, I can't imagine him being like that. Well, I can't imagine being like that, but I was just curious. You know, has there been times where he's just been so unreasonable or so angry where you felt like you did have to, you know, sort of put your foot down and say, no, it's going to have to go this way this time?
Definitely. Our marriage is definitely not
Please share.
I think all marriages, you know, if it was perfect, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think, you know, marriage is one where you build on each other's ups and downs. And definitely there are times where, you know, he's made me so cross, and because I felt that he hasn't heard what I'm saying and not doing what I want, you know, and that kind of thing. But then realizing, you know, after a while, just saying, but it's not good. It's not, you know, good for me to get so angry at him. Because when I've calmed down and the smoke has settled and thought about why I was getting so angry with him and why he's not doing what I say or suggest, then I realized that it could merely just be the communication.
Oh, yes.
He wants to comment.
Yes. George wants to comment.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say I wasn't sitting here. I just came to fetch ice for my leg. and as I arrived, you asked this question. So I'm going to be very rude and jump in here and just say, you know, there's definitely been a number of times, we've been married for 37 years. Yeah. There's definitely been a number of times where Carolyn had to rebuke me. I can even remember once where she called very close leaders, a husband and wife, to come and sit with her, and then she took me on in front of them. Because I loved that. I appreciate it. Of course, it wasn't comfortable. Now, here's the difference. In the 37 years, maybe Carolyn did it 4 times. But those 4 times were critically important that she did it because I was off track. I lost my balance. Every time I was in a big crisis, I was too overwhelmed with things around me and I lost my perspective. And I started losing the ability to hear Carolyn as my helper, as the one that I trust with my life. Because when she's a radar, it means I shoot in a blind without her. She helps me to identify the places where I need to fight. And so the times that she did it, it was in such a right way at the right time, that it doesn't matter how angry or how off balance I was, I immediately heard her and appreciated her word. Even when she called somebody else in and she sat lovingly with them in front of me and she said, I want you guys to sit here as I want to speak to George about a situation that I think he's misreading and he's not hearing my voice. Now that might border on a line of doing dirty washing publicly or whatever, you know. But I think there is definitely a place for that. And I want to encourage you that, but you can't do that every second Monday on small things, because when a real wolf comes, your voice won't be heard. And, but I do believe there's a place for that. Yeah.
Those were the mountains, huh?
Yes.
That
And
were worth fighting.
I'm leaving now again. Okay, just to make sure that they.
He came in just at the right moment to help you, Ellen.
That was very helpful. Thank you so much, George. Yeah. No, it's really great to hear, because that's probably not something that you would share readily, but having George say that was very helpful. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, here's a question. If your husband and you disagree over ways to parent concerning their safety, for example, car seat safety, leaving them home alone when they're younger, etc., do you just submit and follow along with what your husband says and not argue? What if he's throwing the whole submit to your husband's argument to me in situations where I don't feel is good and safe for the kids?
I think there it's communication. You know, when you're looking at children staying at home, our kids stayed at home. Looking at car seats. In South Africa, they're only bringing a rule in now that the back seat, we didn't even have seat belts in the back of our vehicles, you know, at one stage. But the big thing is communication. You know, so even if your husband is saying, but Shua, you've got to put the seat belt on the child. The child has got to be in a car chair. And you just say, no, but what the heck? Why? You know, that kind of thing. So what? We're not going to be in an accident. We don't know what's going to happen in the next second. And then, but just to say, but why do you feel, what's the urgency behind it? You know, try again to understand all these things. Those questions that you asked me. Communication, communication, communication. Don't assume, don't presume. You know, he may have heard a story about a colleague at work, and their child was at home with the sitter, and the sitter went to the store and came back, and something happened to the child. You know, and maybe I wasn't aware of it. You know what I mean? So you just don't know. So I think to get a bit more of a background and to communicate and say, okay, this, I know you're saying this. I'm feeling like this. I know you're feeling like that. You know, what do you think together will be a good option? You know, all right, we will put the car seat on until the child is 3. And then we will take the car seat out and we'll use the safety belt, you know, that kind of thing. Leaving the kids at home and say, all right, in the world today, what is safe? Nothing is safe. And even allowing your children to go and visit or stay somewhere else. Do you get to know that family first? Because you just don't know, you know, with abuse and rape and, you know, things going on in this world today, especially if it's a girl child. I mean, boy child also gets raped and things, but, you know, but a big thing for me is communication, you know, and when you are soft and gentle and you just come and say, look, I'm really struggling with this. It does break that, you know, submit type of thing. Because he's not expecting it from you. You know, he's not expecting you to be soft and gentle and to come alongside and to understand his point of view. And in trying to understand his point of view, you can gently put yours in, so that there can be an understanding between the two, as you bring up your children.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that we're coming to the end of our time together, if that's okay. Just check here. Yeah. Okay, good. And I just wanted to say that Carolyn is a wonderful counselor too. and she's a wonderful listener. Yeah, so
I try to listen.
Yes, she is. She
Doesn't
really
always
is.
work,
And
but I try.
many, as you can tell, lots of words of wisdom. So, you know, I know that she would welcome anybody reaching out to her to ask a question as well. So feel free to do that, right? Yeah. Or you can chat over Zoom or even meet for quick tea, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so I just wanted to, yeah, just bless you all for just making, I think, your lives so open and wanting to learn together, right? All of us are in this together in following the Lord and trying to learn how the Lord wants us to be in our marriages. So thanks for being here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to encourage each one of you. You know, it's really good that we can share as women. You know, find somebody that you can partner with, a girlfriend, and walk away, or group of ladies, and share what you're going through. You know, no marriage is perfect. We all have our ups and downs. None of us are perfect. You know, none of our husbands are perfect, but we are in it together. And if you're going to keep it to yourself, it's going to block you up. It's going to cause resentment and bitterness and all that kind of stuff. And it's just going to be so much harder for you when you allow to have your voice. I mean, the lid might just explode off the pot, and then everything's going to blow. But if you have somebody that you can confide in, or a group of ladies that you can confide in, do so. Do so. Nobody's going to laugh at you. Nobody's going to point a finger at you. Nobody's going to accuse you or anything. We are here together to stand with each other. And it's not the negative talk. It's positive, to bring positive things into our marriages, not to run our husbands down and to stamp them in the ground, but to help each other. No matter, you know, if you're having a bad day, or, you know, those kind of, there's lots of demands coming, just to run to somebody and say, I'm hurting, or I'm helping, or wow, you know, my husband had such an amazing thing. I got flowers today, you know, those kind of things, you know, where we encourage each other and we can also be for each other. But thanks for your time.
Yes. Do you mind closing us?
Sure.
Just in prayer.
All right, let's pray. Father, we just thank you that we can learn how to do marriage through your word.
Amen.
And that we can learn to know that we are helpers. We are the radar. We run parallel with our husbands. We know our role. We serve one another. And I just pray, Father, that as we go from tonight on, for those where it is tough, Father, that you will hear the prayers of the wives.
Yes.
Father, that you will answer them, that you will bring peace in the situation. Where the kids are seeing things, Father, that you will blind their eyes, so to say. Father, that you will encourage them. Yes. Lord, that your spirit and just who you are will be evident in our lives as women. And the way that we talk, the way that we behave, our attitudes, and even towards others around will just be so encouraging to our husbands, to our children, and to the world out there. That Jesus will be evident in us all. He knows that we are not perfect. We try to sin less and less, but it's just through him that we are able. And we just thank you for that. I bless each one that has been on the Zoom this evening, that we've been able to see each other and chat with each other. Father, that you will give them a word of encouragement. Father, that they will feel that you are near them. And Father, that you'll encourage us, that we will be able to be the wives and the mums that you want us to be. And that we will be the great helpers with our husbands. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Just to let you know, George and Carolyn, they've graciously offer their time once again next Wednesday to talk about parenting. So there's going to be a Zoom conference about that next Wednesday's devotion. So just to let you know. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.